not the law. And it is the foundation for your zoning ordinance, your subdivision ordinance, and your urban renewal plan, and all the things that you've been talking a little bit about this evening. So it is very important, but it is a foundation document, and you're free to make changes to it. So as people make suggestions to you about things within the document, just know that it's a resolution that comes with a recommendation from your Planning and Zoning Commission to you. Again, you're free to make changes, and with that said, that's a little bit of the background. The front end of the document, I know it's a pretty lengthy document as you look through it, and the back is a little intimidating because you've got appendices in the back. You've got an appendix that gives you some funding sources, and you've got an appendix that covers that survey that was done community-wide. So that's a significant number of the pages, but as you look through it, the pieces that we had asked the task force and your Planning Commission to focus on would have been the executive summary at the front, which would have kind of cut out what are the 5 or 6 areas that we really need to focus on, and then the land use map, which is at the back. And there's a future land use map that really is probably your Planning and Zoning Commission's focus when they take things up for rezoning, when they're considering things and sending them on to you. So with that said, I'll sit back down. If there are comments, then we'll try and address them.
Do you want to let him talk or read this?
Read that.
Okay, we do have one comment that was sent in to us from Leroy Greenlee. Okay, if I go ahead and read this? Or did you want to comment on it? Okay, if I just read this?
You want me to comment before or after?
It's up to you. Either way, I can read it. You want me to read it first, then you can comment? It says, the City of Independence Comprehensive Plan Updates 2014. I did attend a public hearing by the Planning and Zoning Commission on January 23rd, 2015. Apparently, since then, Planning and Zoning has held 2 meetings, public hearings that I was not previously aware of. At the January 23rd meeting, myself and some Planning and Zoning members commented that the plan update included 31 goals with multiple policies in action. This seemed to have been written for larger communities with more staff and bigger budgets than Independence. The latest draft still has all 31 goals and 78 policies and 58 actions. My other more specific concern is about future land use. Unfortunately, the colored future land use map is difficult to read, apparently because the existing shading on the aerial map used. Nevertheless, I have questions on 2 parcels of land owned by Greenlee Development that are just within the city limits. Number one parcel is a strip of approximately 40 acres currently agricultural between 1st Street East and 8th Street Northeast, lying east of Olds Addition, ABCM East Campus, Crumple Manor, and Green Ridge 6th Edition. At the January meeting, I questioned why the land fronting 1st Street East was designated low-density residential and the land along 8th Street Northeast, currently unpaved, was medium to high-density residential. I requested that these 2 designations be reversed. The latest revision simply removes the medium to high-density residential classification from the entire future land use map. This is confusing and would seem to conflict with our current zoning ordinances. Number 2, the other parcel is 60 acres currently agriculture on the north side of Bland Boulevard, which was designated in January as mixed use, defined in the plan as a mixture of multifamily residential and low-impact commercial. I question if this area needs that much mixed use since there is currently commercial zoning adjacent along 20th Avenue Southwest, and this would seem to be a lot more multifamily housing than necessary. The mixed use is our current zoning ordinance, RC1, Mixed Residential Commercial District, refers to 4 specific existing corridors. This would again appear like this comprehensive plan was written for a generic larger community and not the City of Independence. And it's signed by Leroy Greenlee. Do you want to get up and do any comments?
Briefly, I'm sorry I have to make a partial disclaimer. I discovered it, I'm working off and on this for a few days, discovered at 4:30 this afternoon that the copy I picked up at City Hall on last Thursday is not the same as is on the website. So my specific comments about properties, and Brian can correct me, I think is still correct. I had Print Express copy the future land use map in color off of the website. That land use section does not appear to me to have been changed. But my earlier comments about all the goals and stuff, that's been tempered in what's on the website. And less concerned about that. I'm sure you are also. I don't know what if you're planning to approve, I don't want to take more of your time than necessary. If you're planning to approve this tonight, I really have 3 specific suggestions. If not, I won't bother you with it now.
I think it'd be appropriate to hear your suggestions. This would be the right time.
And then
Yeah.
Brian can correct me if I'm wrong. It appears to me that in the land use section, as I mentioned, they removed the multiple and high-density housing from the future land use. On the map, they did not remove it from the table here, so there's a definite inconsistency there. Table of future land use. So we've got more categories on the table, and in the table than we do on the printed future land use map. So I think they would want to correct that.
Okay.
Now, I understand for planning purposes, the mixed use category is in vogue or gives planners more flexibility and so on. But what I guess I would object to is that the mixed use category here says multifamily residential and low impact commercial. So it's, for instance, in our 60 acres, it's really saying you shouldn't have any single family housing out there in this entire 60 acres that's adjacent to the school campus. I guess I'd prefer if you just struck out the multifamily from that particular definition. Then on the east side of town, if you did that with the mixed use description, then if you make the south half, which is along First Street, the mixed use category instead of residential, so it would allow for the possibility of commercial there. That's First Street East. So those are
Okay.
my 3 specific suggestions. Brian has any comments?
No. Again, we don't have any objection from our standpoint to making changes. Give you a little bit of background, when we came to the Planning and Zoning Commission, we did walk through changes. Leroy was there, and we did walk through a number of things. We did talk about specific parcels and actually becoming more restrictive, making some of those mixed-use parcels actually back to single-family and pulling those back. Again, it's more restrictive from the standpoint of the property owner, because then there's a chance that if they ask for something multiple family or commercial, then they're gonna have to go back through and amend the plan for you before they ask for the rezone. So there's a procedural part there that may cause a little bit of a slowdown for the property owner, but if the property owner wants to actually make that more restrictive, then that's something I think you can consider as a city council doing that. I don't think there would be any objection to that, and for the change in the table, we can do that as well too. That's not an issue as well, and we'll update the map however we like. Also, a few other things in there. Everything is labeled as a 2014 plan. Obviously, we'd be labeling it a 2015 plan. The intent was that was the deadline when we were gonna talk about getting done, but we'll make all those changes as well to the document so that it's a policy instrument that you're comfortable with. Again, we're not working in the ordinance realm. I would just remind you that your zoning ordinance is still gonna dictate exactly what happens. Things like setbacks and heights and the details of what uses are allowed and those kinds of things are all still gonna come from your zoning ordinance. They won't come from your plan. Your plan is just to give you a general idea of what the uses are for an area. Okay? Otherwise, I don't have any objection to those, and we'll get those cleaned up if that's what you so wish.
In the zoning, planning ordinance and that sort of thing, how does it read now in terms, or in direction to that area, your properties? Does it talk multifamily, authorize that, or do we have to go back through and get an approval for that?
I didn't know you had to amend the
Plan,
comprehensive
yeah.